Should we put something up on the thing?
We would like to, but we don't have anything sticky to put this up with. I mean, I don't think the cameras will catch it down here.
This is a little sticky.
No, I meant Asher.
Can we reuse these?
Oh, we can try.
Wait, Asher, why don't you? Oh.
Yeah, if we had Velcro, that would be perfect.
Or if you angled it wider, it wouldn't fly away. See, this was too close, but if you did it a little wider, maybe.
Yeah, but that's not going to get in the photos.
Look, this is very sticky.
Oh.
I have a question. If someone just sits there and holds it, are they going to be out of the camera?
We could have 2 people on either side holding it, and then we won't block them.
But then you're going to be with the speaker. So.
Can I see if this is sticky enough? I don't think it is, but we can try.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Oh.
Okay.
Pretty good.
And what if it falls off in the middle? That would look kind of silly. Oh wait, I got more sticky stuff.
Got more sticky stuff.
Why don't we just put it?
Oh, there's a sticky thing right here. Tape.
Yeah.
See?
Here,
Let's undo this tape.
So lesson learned: always bring tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too many.
Oops, I don't want that to show.
What if I just?
I got one more.
Mine, my piece is tiny. Anything helps.
We got a shot.
I hope so. That's pretty good.
So it isn't really. It's not
Oh, we could. What happened to using these 2 pieces of tape? Guys, we could use these 2 pieces of tape. Can I get someone to do this for me? Sidhu. Can you undo this tape and put the tape on the sign? Thank you. Just rip that one off.
Now where should
On the back of the sign, just or like on the sign somehow, just to stick it on.
You want this tape?
Yeah, I do.
All right, that works.
Okay, that'll be fine.
That
All right.
works.
Cool. Good. All right.
Stand over there. No,
This is pretty amazing.
bounce those out.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Asher Moss. I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for American Leadership. There are over 120 volunteers behind me today. Most of them are students, people that don't want America to walk away from the world, to walk away from the next generation. But we also have former USAID employees and veterans and members of AFSA and AFGE, people that fought to deliver humanitarian aid and relief across the world to show that America can be a good country, that we are a good country. When USAID was gutted, 23,000 Americans lost their jobs in every single congressional district. But USAID was illegally dismantled. It still exists in law, it still exists in spirit, and it still exists right here today. Woo! Foreign assistance has always struggled to find a constituency in Congress. We are here to change that. We are a coalition of more than 70,000 Americans and 2,000 dedicated volunteers across all 50 states and in every single congressional district. Listen, foreign assistance does not belong to the left or the right. It belongs to America. In a national poll last November, 72% of Republicans said they support foreign assistance. The country is with us. This year, Republican lawmakers approved billions of dollars for foreign assistance. So far, the administration has only spent a quarter of it and is waiting for the rest to expire. Here's the question before us. Does the power of the purse still matter? Does the Constitution still matter? Will Congress stand up for itself? Over the past few days, the answer has been a resounding yes. We've met with 92 offices, primarily Republicans. We have secured the support of 16 Republicans who have offered to personally call OMB Director Russ Vought and ask him to release the funds. Here's why that matters. There are millions of lives on the line. A study released by The Lancet found that 14 million people may die because USAID was dismantled. Another study estimates that 733,000 people have died as of last January. Children are starving. Diseases like HIV/AIDS and Ebola are spreading out of control. And our adversaries are taking advantage of this. China is increasing its foreign assistance spending. For the first time in years, China has a higher global approval rating than the United States. Because guess what? When you cut off food and medicine to people's children, they're not going to like you anymore. It's just that damn simple. Now, Congress understands this. That's why they appropriated funds to deal with these very threats. And if the White House actually spends the money that a Republican Congress wrote into law, they can still avert the worst impacts of shutting down USAID. Our ask to Congress is simple. Follow the law, spend the money, keep America safe. With that, I want to introduce a champion of federal workers and foreign assistance, someone that I have always supported, Congressman James Walkinshaw.
Well, thank you, Asher, and I want to start just by thanking the Alliance for American Leadership for your relentless advocacy and for organizing today's event. I want to thank especially all of the organizers, the young organizers who have been on the Hill over the last 2 days, making sure that members of Congress understand what's at stake here. I'm grateful to all of the former USAID officials, public servants, advocates, many of whom I represent, who are here today and who are part of this fight. We're here with a simple message. The administration must release the $19 billion in foreign assistance funds that this Congress, in a bipartisan way, appropriated. 30 cents. 30 cents is all it takes to provide a child who's suffering from acute malnutrition with one packet of ready-to-use therapeutic food. A child's life can be saved with just 3 of these per day at a cost of less than $1. And I would challenge anyone, Republican or Democrat, the president, Russ Vought, anyone, if you saw a child starving, would you take $1 out of your pocket to feed that child? That's what we're asking. We're not talking about just abstract numbers in a budget, certainly not partisan talking points. This is a bipartisan effort. We're talking about life-saving assistance, food for children, tools to stop disease outbreaks, support that can help prevent instability before it becomes a crisis that reaches our shores. We're not talking about charity when we're talking about foreign assistance. We're talking about national security and economic security for the American people. When Ebola is spreading, when the screwworm reaches Texas and threatens American ranchers, when hunger and instability create openings for terrorists and adversaries and people who would do us harm, American leadership around the globe matters. Obviously, this is personal for me in Northern Virginia. Many of my constituents were the federal workers, the contractors who work to deliver this aid and other forms of assistance. They have dedicated their careers, their lives, to saving lives, to preventing crises, and to advancing American interests around the world. And this is not just about dollars. It's about expertise, capacity, infrastructure, all of which were lost when so many of these programs were dismantled. Just the $3.2 billion in development assistance and global health program funding that's being withheld could prevent 4 million malaria cases, provide life-saving nutrition assistance to 23 million children, prevent 68,000 tuberculosis deaths, and strengthen U.S. partnerships, preventing conflicts that harm our economy, hurt businesses here, and threaten our national security. So Congress appropriated this funding, Democrats and Republicans. The law is clear. The President, the administration do not get to pick and choose which dollars are spent after they've been appropriated. So today we are calling on the administration and OMB to release the $19 billion, immediately release the funds, let this life-saving work continue, and let America lead again. Thank you all so much, and I'll turn it back to Asher.
Congressman. Now, I want to say something important here. Foreign assistance is bipartisan. It must stay bipartisan, and we need to grow that bipartisan coalition. We recently held an event at Penn State University with nearly 1,000 attendees, students, USAID employees, people from across Pennsylvania who care about international assistance and American leadership on the world stage. And we have seen Democrats calling on the administration to spend these funds, and we've seen many Republicans calling privately. But I am very excited today that we are here with Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick to make that case.
Thanks, Asher. Isn't it great to see all the young kids out today? They're all young to us, by the way. All you guys know this is exactly what our nation needs. We need you to get involved in your government, no matter what that cause is. And this is certainly a very, very noble cause. And the entire incredible team at the Alliance for American Leadership, to every advocate, student, veteran, former USAID employees who we have here, who spent the past 2 days on this Hill making the case for American leadership, because that's really what this is about. This is about an American leadership. At its best, American leadership saves lives. It keeps our country safe. It strengthens our allies. It counters our adversaries, and it reflects the best of who we are as a nation. And that is why Congress acted and appropriated $50 billion for international assistance in a two-party vote. But to date, only $5 billion of that 50 has been obligated. These are not abstract dollars on a spreadsheet. These are resources that Congress approved to help prevent disease, help deliver life-saving assistance, help support stability, help strengthen our partners, and help advance America's interests around the world. And that is why those of us up here and those of us behind us, and many of you advocates, have always called for and support targeted, accountable international assistance, because it is not a charity. It's a strategy. And I spent a lot of my time prior to Congress as a former FBI agent, mostly overseas. And I saw firsthand that these threats do not stay neatly abroad. They've required diplomatic assistance. And by the way, my last international assignment in Ukraine worked side by side with USAID. I had heard a lot about them. I had never had a firsthand experience with them. And I saw the tremendous work that tremendous human beings were doing every single day inside of Ukraine. And when this is done right, with accountability and transparency and clear purpose, it's one of the most effective tools that the United States of America has. Military strength matters, intelligence matters, but diplomacy matters as well. Economic matters, accountable international assistance matters too. These are not competing ideas, they're part of the same strategy and part of the same toolkit. And that is the approach I've always believed in, including through efforts like the Global Child Thrive Act, because American assistance should reflect both our values and our interests, protecting the vulnerable, strengthening stability, and helping prevent crises and disease before they become international and come to our shores here as catastrophes. We are not talking about blank checks or waste. Our assistance is critical. Accountability is not the same thing as freezing funds Congress has already appropriated. Congress made a decision through the constitutional appropriations process. Now those funds must be released. And that is why I'm joining Asher, I'm joining all of you here today, I'm joining my colleagues to not ask, but demand that the administration release those funds in a lawful manner that was already legally obligated by Congress. So the message today is simple. Release the funds, release them responsibly, release them transparently, and release them now. Because accountable international assistance saves lives. It protects Americans. It strengthens our partnerships. It counters our adversaries, and it ensures that America leads not by waiting for crisis to reach our doorstep, but by helping prevent them in the first place. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you for your partnership. Anytime you want to come to DC, you have some willing friends and partners here. And thank you for building up your own units in all 435 congressional districts in America. That is so powerful. It's the most powerful form of advocacy you can do. Thank you.
We need to keep up the fight in every district. And with that, I want to introduce a doctor, a veteran, someone who understands better than anyone that threats abroad, diseases abroad, impact America. With that, Congressman Herb Conaway.
Thank you. I think it is worthwhile to spend just a little bit of time talking about the fact that history repeats itself. Now, in the 70s, well before a lot of you were born, we had a lawless president. And the Congress, in response to the lawlessness, put bills in place to prevent, statutes in place, reform statutes to prevent the very things we're seeing here today. The administration here that came into power, the Trump administration, sicked Doge on the USAID and basically stripped it bare. Fired people, locked them out of work, led a program that allowed people to starve that might have been saved. Illegally fired people went into their files, empowered people to go into their files to look at security file information, other private information, breaking the Privacy Act. People who did that have not been prosecuted as yet. They've impounded funds against the law, against the Impoundment Act, and we're seeing those reforms that were put in place to restrain a lawless president and uphold our Constitution being violated today. Now we have $50 billion in aid that are being held up by the president. Only 10% of that funding has been spent, and every day it goes on, it's breaking the law, breaking the law, and breaking the law. Those funds must be released. Now, why is it so important that the United States participate in the world? Now, you could, I suppose, argue to use our great military strength and our economic power to bring people to us through threats, to respond to emergencies that might have been prevented if we had been there in place, engaging with people on the ground, making sure that we are feeding the hungry, taking care of infectious diseases that can reach our shores, developing allies in countries where China now and Russia now are advancing as Americans recede. Soft power counts. If you want to prevent war, if you want to prevent another generation of patriots to go off and fight in other countries, then we need to be there with soft power, providing aid, assistance, development assistance, and providing markets for our own farmers and others who are providing this assistance overseas. And we've already seen this with the Trump administration, gave up the soybean crop to the Chinese in order to bail out billionaires involved in Argentina, and driving up bankruptcies across the farming community in our state. The same thing happened here when we have walked away from the food program that will save so many lives. The USAID shutdown has already resulted in over 600,000 preventable deaths globally from disease and from starvation. And as Bill Gates, to paraphrase him, said, here we have through Doge the richest man in the world killing the poorest children. Research has found if these cuts are not reversed quickly, 14 million people around the world will die as a direct result of American inaction. And that includes over 4 million children under the age of 5. over the course of its operation, as an operational life, USAID has prevented over 91 million excess deaths globally. 91 people who otherwise would have died but for the intervention, the humanitarian intervention, the smart intervention of the United States. And again, as we have heard, this has been a bipartisan consensus on the importance of American aid and assistance overseas since the inception of this agency. The USAID funded Ebola surveillance, laboratory capacity, contact tracing, and preparedness activities in the eastern Congo, including the Ituri province, the epicenter of the outbreak. Now, I worked in public health before coming to the Congress, and I know well the kind, and I took that job just before the COVID pandemic. And I understand something about how important contact tracing is to halting the spread and advance of disease. Because of our withdrawal of funding and withdrawal from the World Health Organization, this Ebola outbreak, which might have been contained, might have limited deaths, might have gone and done what it should to prevent people with Ebola from coming to our own shores, we have now an outbreak that is running out of control. In the earlier outbreak of Ebola in 2018 and 2020, the United States contributed through USAID approximately $324 million in response efforts, helping to build treatment centers, logistics, surveillance, and emergency coordination mechanisms, all directed at saving lives and preventing the spread even beyond the continent. USAID funding is associated with a 65% reduction in HIV/AIDS mortality in countries. Researchers estimate that it's translated into about 2.5 million deaths prevented over the last 20 years. The projects sustained by U.S. foreign assistance cuts could result in, and listen to this, 6.6 million additional HIV infections between 2025 and 2029. 4.2 million additional AIDS-related deaths in that period, 300,000 additional child deaths from AIDS-related causes, and 3 million more children orphaned by AIDS. Let's look at malaria. The President's Malaria Initiative, been around for a long time, has saved over 200,000 lives every year since its inception in 2005. And it is now no longer receiving much needed funding from USAID. USAID also supported maternal and child health care with disease treatment, nutritional support, saving over 1 million children a year. The Trump administration must reverse these disastrous and inhumane cuts. We must get back to the business of reaching out with a helping hand for those who need it. We must do not only the humanitarian thing, but the smart thing. When you think about how important it is for the United States to be engaged in the world with a helping hand so that we can prevent more costly tragedies in the future. Release all of the $50 billion appropriated by the Congress. Follow the Constitution. Follow the dictates of the Impoundment Act. And let's help people. Let's be the great country that we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Next, I want to introduce someone who knows a thing or two about accountability and about following the law. Congressman Jamie Raskin understands what it takes to keep people accountable and to make sure that funds that Congress appropriates actually get spent. So with that, Congressman Raskin.
So greetings, everybody, and I want to spend a minute just thanking the organizers and all these great, wonderful young people from around the country who've come together to stand up for U.S. aid, for American values and American interests. But, you know, I'm the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. I might be the chair of the House Judiciary Committee one day. So I look at this first and foremost as just a matter of constitutional law. An appropriation by Congress is a law by Congress. An appropriation is an expression of the congressional will to spend money on a particular purpose. And if Congress appropriates money for foreign aid, like $19 billion, you don't thwart that, you don't redirect it, you don't impound it, you don't stop it, you don't pocket it, you don't steal it. You spend that money on foreign aid. That's what we appropriated it for. Sometimes my colleagues talk about co-equal branches. And I've got some problems with that, starting with co-equal is not even a word, okay? That's like extremely unique or something like that. But we're not designed as co-equal branches. We had a revolution against a king who thought that all of the money in the kingdom belonged to him to be used for whatever purposes he wanted. For personal plunder, for wasteful expenditure on gilded things, on changing the color of water from blue to green, whatever it might be. We got away from that. And Article 1 of the Constitution reposes the legislative power exclusively in the Congress of the United States representing the people. And we've got the power of the purse. The framers wanted us to decide what to do with our money. Now, foreign aid is a very small percentage of the total federal budget, but it's a very critical element of the federal budget because it's an instrument of our promoting America to the entire world. And we do that by helping people. We do that by combating HIV/AIDS. We do that by combating malaria. We do that by helping people do water projects. We do it by promoting elections and democracy. So if we say, spend that money, if you don't like it, you can veto it. But if you don't veto it, then it's the law. And if you veto it, we can override you anyway. But in any event, that's the law. That's the law right now. Spend the $19 billion on the interests and the values of the American people. That's what we say. That's not a choice. That's a constitutional mandate for President Trump and the Trump administration to do that. And beyond that, for all of the reasons my distinguished colleagues have said, it is urgently in the national interest and in the interests of global public health. If we learned nothing else from COVID-19, it's got to be that everybody's health is connected to everybody else's health. So when we're promoting public health in other people's societies, that is helping to bolster our efforts to advance public health here in America. So thank you all for what you are doing, and let's get this thing done.
Thank you, Ranking Member Raskin. I want to thank everyone for being here today. We will get the funds released. We will prevent deaths across the world. We will keep America safe. We will get this job done. Thanks to all of you. So thank you a lot. Thank you, everyone. Apologies. Other additional speakers. I forget when we get extra members of Congress joining. Austin McGraby is a USAID representative at the American Foreign Service Association, and he was a former Foreign Service officer based in Senegal. Austin.
Thank you, Andrew. All right. Thank you, Asher, for the invitation and for the Alliance's continued leadership on this issue. And to the members of Congress and staff who joined us today, thank you for lending your voices to our cause. Your presence matters, and not just symbolically. As Representative Raskin mentioned, the Constitution vests in Congress the power of the purse and the responsibility for how this country engages the world. That's not a talking point. It's why Capitol Hill is where the work needs to happen. As Asher mentioned, I'm Austin McGraby. I am USAID's representative on the American Foreign Service Association's board. What that means is I represent the men and women who built America's foreign assistance infrastructure over decades and who were fired without cause 1 year ago. What happened to them, to us, was wrong. We were dismissed all across the world, forced to return home as though we had done something wrong. All we did was serve our country with honor. AFSA, the Foreign Service Association, was there when it happened. We were keeping people connected, getting them legal support, ensuring their stories and their work was not forgotten. And I have to say, Asher, this event gives me a lot of optimism, even in a tough year, because USAID was created by that act of Congress. And Congress continues to demonstrate its commitment to our mission, most recently by funding that 50% billion budget that all of our representatives alluded to. And that funding is needed now more than ever. And with it, and with that funding, Congress made clear that American leadership in the world is not optional. It is a national security imperative. Because the need that USAID existed to meet, stability, development, American influence abroad, that didn't disappear when the agency was dismantled. If anything, it's grown. From revolution in Sudan that continues to starve children, to Ebola in DRC that continues to wreak havoc, that we learned about 9 days after the WHO. Our service is still needed, our work is still needed. And so as I tell our members, and I would say to all of you behind me and all of the members of the Alliance for American Leadership, our mission and our service isn't over, it's only just beginning. Thank you, Asher. Thank you, everyone.
Next, I want to introduce a USAID Foreign Service officer who worked on Food for Peace.
No, it's just a little, like,
It's not this.
no, it's like a little clip-on mic.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Asher, for all your work and your leadership and all my new friends. I've had a wonderful 2 days with you. I love what you're doing for USAID and for former beneficiaries like me and for USAID people who are really hurt by the dismantlement of USAID. So my name is Ann Rolte, R-A-L-T-E. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. I am from Northeast India, from a very small place called Mizoram, a hill tribe. I grew up with no running water or electricity, and I ended up in a school for the disadvantaged in Calcutta, West Bengal. That happened to have USAID school feeding program, and with that food aid I survived and I thrived. And with the Christian Insurance Fund program, I was linked up with a sponsor that brought me to the United States. So long story short, I started my career at UNICEF in New York, Cambodia, and then I ended up at USAID, the Office of Food for Peace. That was in 1996. I was the first one to do the strategic planning for the emergency food aid and making sure that food aid went to intended beneficiaries and how we counted its effect on children and malnourished people. So I ended up working in the Policy Bureau and then in the Administrator's Office. And so I've been blessed with this opportunity. So I thank the American people every day for what food aid and the American value has saved people like me. And I hope that your efforts will help to rebuild USAID and bring back what we have done, maybe in a better way. And so I appreciate that. Thank you so much for everyone in the world who are now sort of abandoned by what has happened, and hopefully we will resolve that soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here today, standing out in the hot sun. I know it's difficult. I appreciate you all, fighters, all of you here. We got to get the money spent. We got to keep the fight up. Thank you.